Today we will review how to submit data for processing and how to view batches where data has already been submitted and processed. You'll begin by clicking Login on the Jackalope homepage, then going to Data Operations, Submit Files. You'll begin by indicating the batch name. This will be a name that's important to you, maybe meaningful to you about what data is included, or something that'll help you do a search for batches later on when you have quite a few to search through. So I'll enter my batch name. If you have a field collector that you know collected this data and that you want to indicate as having collected this data, you can fill it in here. And the following two fields are locked unless you have an outside agency submitting data. So in this case, submitted by me because I'm logged in here, and the owning agency is Delaware because that's the database I'm using for today's test. So after filling out all of these that are applicable, I'll click Add Files, and that will open up a file browser for me to choose files from. In this case, it's going to go to the last place that I looked at to submit files. So I can multi-select here by doing Control-Shift or Control-All or whatever your file settings are here in your folder. Let's just say I want to submit this set of files here, and I'll say Open. You can always add more files again by clicking Add Files, possibly going to a different directory, selecting files that way, and you'll end up building a list here of all the files that you've added. If, for example, you selected a couple of files that you didn't intend to select, you can hit Cancel next to the ones that you don't want submitted with this batch. And just for this testing here, I'm going to delete a couple of other ones that I don't want. We'll just say I want to submit this one file. And then when all finished building your list of files, you'll click Start Upload. And it's important not to leave this screen while the files are being uploaded. Once all of the files are uploaded, Jackalope will redirect you to this view, which will show you your batch, your name, the date you created, and the status that the file is in right now. You'll see the status change to picked up, and it will then be updated to completed or whatever other state it'll end up being in based on what happened with your files. You can see that Jackalope is refreshing itself every 5 seconds to check the status of this. So at this point, I can move away from this screen and work on something else if I would like to, or I can just wait until I see the submission status refresh itself and just wait until it's finished. Okay, you can see that my screen has refreshed itself to submission status complete. So at that point, I can feel free to click the refresh button, which will refresh this screen and show me what happened with this file. So here's the file that has been submitted. You can see there's a QC message here, which will be reviewed at a later time, and all of the buttons and colors and things explained. But this is how you submit a batch, submit files for processing. If you were to finish your work for the day and come in tomorrow and like to refresh what you were looking at yesterday, you can log in again, and we can find the batch we were just working on by going to Data Management, Files Submitted, and then I can look through all of the files submitted based on the user, the agency. I could look for a particular file that I want to find within a batch. So in this case, I know that I'm the one who submitted the data, so I just want to see my batches. I could sort them by date created. Let's just say if I wanted to view all batches, I can search for a batch name. I can organize these by date created or last updated. If a file was reprocessed or maybe binding rules were created, then the last updated date will be more recent than the date that the batch was created. So in this case, I've sorted by the most recent, and you can see here's my batch here. I could also search for any batches that have, the word example in them, and there's my batch. And then in order to get into this batch and view it, you'll just double click on the batch that you're interested in looking at. And you will be taken back into this batch so that you can continue working on it.